So today I spoke with a returning guest, Harvey Gombos, a young strongman, and we did get into a really good chat about training, but we had a great chat about mindset and just our feelings and opinions on it. And as always, Harvey's a very smart, insightful guy. I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed listening to him as well, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. 3, 2, 1. Hello again. Welcome to the David Watson podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, same as you. As we were just briefly talking before we started the show. Feeling really good, but then the body starts breaking down. So you were literally just talking about your knee.
Yeah, so I'll fully explain my situation that might give a bit of background on it. So since May, I've had a bulging disc, and I didn't realize until last Thursday when I had a consultation with Mofo Body Mechanic.
Yep.
And obviously,
shout out to him
because
I follow him on Instagram.
Fantastic physio, couldn't recommend him enough. So obviously I've not addressed the issue, and that's just been progressively getting worse. And I've never had sciatica before, so I didn't really know what it was. And I always thought it was like pain on one side of your body going down to your foot. So I just assumed, because mine was only primarily in my hamstring and sometimes in my glute, I thought, nothing major. I've just pulled my hamstring or done something, and then I just thought it was like a niggle that was reoccurring. But obviously it isn't. So off the back of that, I've been rehabbing my hamstring, doing flossing, and I think it's called neurotension or something along those lines. But obviously, because my hamstring and my glute have been compensating for my weakness in my lower back, my quad has taken all of the strain yesterday. So been doing front box squats, which is obviously a heavy quad movement, and then my quad's obviously protecting my knee joint, and all of the pressure's gone onto that without any help from my hamstring or my glute. So it's just been like, nah, I'm out, I'm done. So basically, it's not in the greatest of places, but it is what it is. It's nothing major, so it'll get fixed up in time. I'm not worried about it.
It's tough though, isn't it? Because it was about a couple of months ago. It was actually something you posted on your story, and it's those glute tables bridges.
You know? Oh, right, yeah.
So I used to do them a lot, and then for whatever reason, I just one day stopped doing them. Like you forget why you would, that you were doing something before. And I seen that, I was just like, I need to get back on them. So I started getting back on them, and went from like unable to even hold one to I'm probably good for about a minute, right? Still not 100% pleased with my glute involvement, but the hamstrings are starting to get solid. And that then led to me, I know what, I'll try sprinting again, right? Right? And the first couple of sprints were shocking. Well, actually, the first thing I should say, once I got a handle on those table bridges, my glutes started to engage, and I'd be in agony for days. Do you know what I mean? Like sitting down would just be like,
because you can feel that.
Yeah, right. And they're really just a simple activation exercise. Do you know what I mean? Which just kind of goes to show, like, yeah, you do your kettlebell swings and stuff, but there's something not engaging.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, they're simple in terms of the fact that they're body weight, but they are like quite difficult. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but they should be a staple foundation to everybody's workouts.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
You should be starting with these. Yeah, you should be starting with these.
Go on.
Sorry, I'm just going to say you should be starting with these. Engage everything before you start doing something else.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm a big believer in single leg suitcase deadlifts or single leg RDLs. They are absolutely fantastic. Brilliant exercise in terms of warming up but also working on like proprioception, so your balance and coordination and all that type of stuff, which obviously transfers in a big way to strength and power movements. So yeah, definitely would recommend to any of your listeners, if you're not already doing that and you're training for performance, get them in.
Well, this is right. So I was doing that, and I actually was doing some RDLs as well. And then I'm going to do some sprints. And bearing in mind, it's August, isn't it? I'm 47 at the end of next month, right? So I thought I'm going to do some sprints, and I've got a hill outside my house, and I'm only like doing 30 meters. And the first couple the first couple of sprints I did were shocking, and I was just like, fuck, you know. And for reference, I'm no Usain Bolt, but I did sprint at county level at school. So
all right,
yeah, do you know what I mean? So and I have clocked when I was about 15, 16. I did clock an 11-second 100 meters. So you know what I mean? I wasn't. Yeah,
that's decent.
Yeah, you know, it's not Olympic qualifying time. Do you know what I mean? But and I did back in the day do like a 22:01 200 meters. Do you know what I mean? So I was quick. Do you know what I mean? I was a little bit of a whippet, you know, long time ago. And so when I'm doing sprints, I can be quite judgmental, and it was shocking. And then I was just like, no, that's how it is. There was just no snap, no push, no acceleration. It just wasn't there, right? And so I did a couple of more, and then one day it just connected, and I was like, oh, here we go. We've actually got some acceleration. You know, we've gone from like plain old diesel to turbo diesel. It's all right. And so that was good. And then last week, what was it? I thought I'm going to do some walking lunges because I haven't done them properly for a while either. And I did 3 sets uphill. 10 sets going uphill, about 30 meters. And I could feel it by about set 6 or 7. So this is starting to fatigue a little bit. But come on, son, snap out of it, get in there. Yep, it was proper Dorian Yates. I couldn't walk for a week, and I just sitting down was painful, and it's just like walking lunges. And I was left afterwards was just like so much foundational stuff is just missing from my workouts.
Yeah. See, the thing is, when you don't do it for ages, then you try to do it again, it's like it just writes you off. It's weird. I can't really get my head around why it's so difficult and why it messes you up so badly, but it does. It does.
This is it, because you know you follow me. You know I work out 4 times a week. I do my burpees. I do my lunges. You know, but it's
early in the morning.
Yeah. I have to get up, walk the dog, and train. I'm not one for training in the afternoons or in the evenings. If I do, it's a second workout.
Yeah, I've never. Don't get me wrong. I started off training in the evenings just for convenience sake, but now it's like if it was up to me, I'd train as soon as I wake up. But I know because I'm training for performance, I can't really train without a couple meals in me. Yeah, so I normally train around midday-ish.
Mine started a few years ago, and it's that mindset thing that I always focus on, is that I was finding I needed to, I was really badly out of shape, and I was just like, I'd go to the gym some days and not other days, and I was just like, hang on, what's going on here? And it's just like, it's because I was struggling to find a proper routine. So what I started doing is just getting up like I was going to work, and instead of going to work, I'd just put my gym kit on, and I'd get up at the same time, leave at the same time. And instead of turning right to go to work, I'd turn left to go to the gym. And that. So I just kept a 7-day routine in my head. And that's...
Yeah, that's it though. It's routine.
Yeah.
Routine makes everything work. I'm a big believer in that as well. If you're struggling with anything in your life, it's because you've not got some sort of set foundation or routine or ritual or whatever in place, and you're winging it effectively.
Yeah, you are. And actually, that's one of the things that's on my list of things to talk to you about, because you've started talking about, because you've become much more talkative on your Instagram stories now.
Yeah.
Because you've gone from like silent to like, and I really enjoyed one the other day when you were talking and you were actually going on about like fucking mindset. If you're not doing something, you're acting like a fucking victim, and I got no time for it, and you need to sort your shit out. And I was like, go on, Harvey. You tell him, Harvey.
Yeah, I mean, I can't be. Well, basically, I'm at the point in my life where, quite frankly, I can't be arsed with people that are negative, or they're wanting to just some sort of sympathy, or I don't really know or understand what it is, but people just seem to, it sounds really cliche, but look for excuses, or look why they're poor old me, or fuck off with that mentality. It's just so draining. Do you know what I mean?
It is 100%, 100%, and I 100%. The reason I loved it so much is because, you know, various things over years and stuff like that. I have been in that like little pit of victimization. And it's not my fault this happened. It's not my fault that happened. It's not my fault that happened. And then a couple of years ago, I had a huge reality check, and it's like, do you know what? It is your fucking fault. The end.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't give a shit what that person did. I don't give a shit about how that job turned out. It was your bloody fault how you reacted to it and responded to it. And when I looked at myself like that, it was awful, because I was like that person I was looking at, I was just like, you're a fucking wanker. You just are. Do you know what I mean? You've got no self-esteem. You've got no self-love. And it's one big facade. You do this, you get at the gym, you talk like this, but you're not backing it up with anything at all.
No.
And
it's like it's a coping mechanism almost. But it's basically, the way that I look at it is, you've got two options. Either you keep on continuing this negative self-talk, it's everybody else's fault and problem, and you're effectively making yourself powerless to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So you're effectively making the problem worse than it actually is. Or alternatively, without sounding, because I know a lot of people have got a lot of issues and struggles, and I'm not trying to demean that, but in the same respect, I know a lot of people that are very, very fortunate in comparison to other people that have been in worse situations, that have sorted their shit out effectively. So either be powerless and continue about that victim mindset, or take the reins and hold yourself accountable, but also become the one that makes the difference. Do you know what I mean? Or
100%. Because you're right. It's like, look, I genuinely coach people, right, part-time. I have a part-time coaching business, and I genuinely coach people who, executives who don't need a lot of input, really. What they need is like a sounding board and somebody to offload to, and a way to clarify the reason they're thinking behind something. Because someone like me will come in and, I don't understand what that's about. Why are you doing that? You know, help me understand. And it's in that process of explaining it that they really fully understand the picture they're painting. But I also have, about the other half of my customers and clients, are people that come out of narcissistic relationships and are massively damaged, right? And the thing where they all strive is when you get them out of that victim mindset. Yeah, and that's not belittling people who are in those positions, who have been battered, like emotionally battered. But when you get them to realize, do you know what? That wasn't your fault, the way that person treated you, because you went in there with good intentions. But it is kind of your fault now, because you're not trying. And you're still
not dealing with it.
Yeah, you're still holding on to what this person did to you, and you're not doing the work to realize that that person was a complete and utter arsehole. And that person was just destructive. That person was toxic, and you got poisoned in the process. But you don't have to keep absorbing that poison.
Absolutely. That's the main reason why I'm so conscious about the people that I've got around me. Just both me and my brother, in fact. We don't have any time for people that are in any way draining on our emotional energy, because I mean, I like to consider myself as pretty upbeat for the majority. Do you know what I mean? And anyone that's around me, I'll big them up. But I'll only do it where I feel like it's necessary or it's called for. So I'm not one for fake hype or any of that bullshit.
No.
But if somebody's done well, I'll support that. If somebody's struggling, I'll support them. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. However, if they're always struggling because of their own shit, then I can't be investing my time and energy into that type of person, because they're not valuing their own time or energy. They're just wasting it.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
I can't be a part of that.
no, and shout out to Max. Did well at the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And you've got another one coming up this weekend. This is the main event. 2 Bros. Hopefully, fingers crossed, comes first in this one. He's going to look absolutely insane.
So just because he does look good, your brother. I don't actually follow. I need to follow him on Instagram because it's you I follow. So I see him and through your cousin, the Hungarian strength coach, is So explain to people what Max did at the weekend, apart from smashed it.
He competed at, I think it's the IBFA, I think, bodybuilding. And this is his second competition. He did his first one last weekend. Bit of a fuck up last weekend. He thought it was on Sunday, but it turned out it was on Saturday. So he literally just rocked up without any carbs or anything like that, and then came second in that one. So out of a pretty stacked lineup, and without sounding salty, I thought he should have taken the win, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, hey ho.
He's got good symmetry. He's got good symmetry, and those quads are fucking fine. Yeah. I was looking at some of those pictures, and I was just like, those quads are good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And he can pose. He can pose as well.
He can, yeah.
I like just the whole sort of vibe and aesthetic that he's got. He's very classic in how he poses and his lines and all of that sort of stuff. And I feel like he's going about progressing in the right manner. So not trying to rush anything, and not forcing it too much, which I think it bodes very, very well for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I saw only a few reels that you and your cousin posted up. He has a good stomach vacuum as well.
Oh yeah, his vacuum's
bloody good.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I was like genuinely. I was like, that's a bloody good vacuum.
Team no organs.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But that's like proper Arnold classic vacuum.
Oh man, I bet you could give a lot of pros a run for their money with that, with his vacuum. No shit.
Because I do a lot of stomach vacuums, and I'm not nowhere at that level. No way. And that's not just because I'm carrying a few too many pounds. It's just not there. He really can suck up into the ribs, and I was just like, shit.
It's just practice, years and years of practice. He's been doing that for years, like best part of a decade probably.
Yeah.
So when you've been doing it for that long, I mean, if you're not that good, then you're doing something wrong. But it's the fact that he's managed to maintain and sustain that length of period of time, doing it consistently, that's made it so good. That's the hard part, isn't it?
Well, because just practicing stomach vacuums, but then actually posing with a stomach vacuum, that really is hard. Because I've I don't know anything about posing, but I've stood in front of a mirror and just done the old bicep pose. Do you know what I mean? Like the classic, and sucked in. And you can't get anywhere near it. And his stomach didn't make any adjustments. It just stayed the same. I was like, shit.
So if you haven't, and this goes for all your listeners as well, if you haven't tried posing, just try it for 5 minutes at the end of your session. You'll be absolutely bollocks.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But the thing is, it's not about just flexing your arms, tensing your midsection. Tense absolutely every single muscle that's on show at one point and maintain that. Don't stop tensing ever, until it's not on show. And try that. Max was doing his mandatories. I'm pretty sure it was for 20 minutes last weekend. Imagine tensing best part of pretty much all of your body for 20 minutes solid.
And when they go through that routine, they have to maintain that the muscle tension during the movement. Trying to keep your bicep flexed as you roll out an arm and keep your lats flared, if that's part of the movement and all that. It's just like the cord. I mean, I can't flare my lats full stop. Let alone try and do it.
People can't, mate.
Yeah, it's. I thought there was something wrong with me, but it's just like no. It's it's actually just more difficult than it looks. There might be some thoracic tightness, but and it's just but trying to like you say, go from one pose to another and not relax. it's hard, like really hard. And to get it down to a proper pose like he was doing, I genuinely respected. I was just like, wow, I was blown away by how good I seen it on those reels. I was like,
and then obviously take into account the fact that he's on poverty calories in comparison to what he has been, and he's been doing that for what, I think 12 weeks, probably something around that.
Yeah.
So imagine that you're also
and turned up with no prep because he didn't turn up on the right day. So I mean, didn't get the days right. Yeah.
Had shit night's sleep. His knee was hurting as well. Like, there's just so many different issues, and I think he actually winged it a little bit with his posing routine, because obviously his knee was hurting, and he's supposed to go on to one knee.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do that, so he just winged it a little bit, and you couldn't tell, and it looked shit hot. So yeah, respect.
Yeah, definitely. Well done to him. Really, really, and good luck to him this weekend as well. Yeah. So what is Max's ambitions then?
Pro, become a pro. Well, get a pro card. I reckon he'll probably get one next year, to be honest.
Yeah.
Very, very doable. And a lot of people wouldn't think so, but I've seen how he works, and if he can maintain this level of work, then there's no reason why he couldn't get a pro card next year, to be honest. But yeah, so I think his main aspirations, I mean, he might in the back of his head, I don't know, I don't think he's told me, but I think everyone's if you're a bodybuilder, everyone's aspirations to get to the Olympia, isn't it? Or be Mr. Olympia.
It has to be.
I think it's doable, to be honest.
I do. He's got the perfect symmetry to start with.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's probably his aspirations. But I know he definitely wants to get his pro card pretty soon. So yeah.
No, I'm looking forward to it. It is good to see, because he did look good. My only criticism is he could have had smaller trunks. He didn't have like the ultimate budgie smugglers that some of them go on with.
Well, yeah, he didn't, but it's more classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he did actually. That's a good point. He had more of a classic trunk, didn't he?
Yeah. The leather ones as well. The fact that they were leather, and just how they looked, like obviously quite high waisted, and yeah. I think it suited him, to be fair.
It's funny the things you notice, isn't it? I was just like, less is more, Max. Less is more.
He's all about being modest, mate.
Fair play to him. So how's strongman going for you? Because you placed second as well in your first comp.
I did. Well, yeah, it wasn't my first. It was
first this year, though, wasn't it? This year, was it the first?
Oh yeah, first this year, yeah. So I got second place again. Bit gutted, but at the same time, not really much you can do about it. And to be honest with you, if I had come first, there was certain things that potentially would have conflicted. So I won't go into too much detail, because obviously it's a bit more private. But essentially, if I'd come first, I would have been invited to UK's Strongest Man, and I had no intentions of going. I didn't really want to ruffle any feathers, because apparently, well, I'd been told that it wouldn't have gone down too well had I rejected the invite, put it that way. So it potentially would have impacted my potential of getting invited next year or the year after. So yeah, I'm seeing it as a
plus.
Like, yeah, really. I had nothing more to gain from coming first.
Yeah.
Play second, didn't get injured, PB'd. That's all you can ask for, really, isn't it?
Yeah, because on the day, Jack was pretty solid, wasn't he? Jack Osborne. Is it Jack Osborne?
Yeah. Jack smashed it, to be fair. Like, I did not expect him to be as good as he was at the events, the moving of events in particular. Like, there's not really much more to be said. He fucking put in the work and smashed it.
Yeah, he did do good. But I mean, that run off at the end, it wasn't a strength thing, was it? You dropped it.
Yeah. I
watched it, mate.
Right. Okay, so basically, I'll explain to you my sort of mindset because I'm not the typical butterfingers. That's the first time I've ever dropped an implement.
But I looked at that and was just like, see, the weird thing for me is like when I train and stuff, I can live with that because that's something that would never normally happen.
You won't be able to live with it when I explain why it happened. So obviously, and this doesn't make any difference, to be honest. Even if I'd beaten Jack in that event, I wouldn't have still come first.
Yeah.
I would have had to beat Curtis because me and Curtis were like second and third. Well, me, Jack, and Curtis were all like we were swapping first to third on all of the events. And I would have had to place one position higher in another event as well as beat Jack in the medley.
Yeah.
But essentially, what happened in the medley is, in my eyes, logic would sort of dictate that you'd go from lightest to heaviest. Is that fair to assume?
No,
because the implements were different weights, weren't they? The implements were different weights, and I would have you'd go from lightest to heaviest or heaviest to lightest.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to put the heaviest one on the outside or the heaviest one on the inside. I can't remember. But basically, it went heaviest, second heaviest, and then lightest. So I took the first one, came back and stood at the wrong one, and then I went to the right one. And then because I was just about to pick up that one and I saw Jack moving in the corner of my eye, I thought, fucking hell, best get a move on. Didn't grab it properly, then fumbled it. And I'm like, fuck's sake. So
you see, I can live with that. Those things I can live with, because what I don't like is when it all goes perfect and I can't find something to improve on.
Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it, actually. Very good way of looking at it.
Do you know what I mean? So I looked at that and I was just like, oh, right, there's something here that I can improve on massively. I'm in. To me, I like that, because when everything, when everything goes right and I nail everything and I don't get the result I want, I'm then left like, fuck.
Yeah, that just means you're not good enough type of thing, doesn't it? But
also it leaves me with this like kind of desperation of, well, what can I work on to try and get it better? So I'm much happier if I don't hit my result and can find the mistake or the area that I can improve on, because I'm like, shit, no matter what happens next time, it's going to be better. And I'm really happy after that, because I'm like, oh yeah, I've got this. You're still with me? I can still see you and sort of hear you. Hey, are you back?
Hello.
Yeah, I could still see you and hear you.
Oh, right. I was going to say you went all blurry. I couldn't see what you're saying. Yeah. I do agree with like all of what you were saying surrounding finding issues in your own performance, and then obviously that's something to improve on. But in the same respect, I look at it from either way. If I perform well and I hit all of my targets and everything goes right and somebody's better than me, then the sort of what's the word? The scrutiny will be less on my own performance and more on the person that's beaten me and what they've done to actually beat me. So, for example, Jack, it was less about physical ability and more about just practice. It was quite simply, he was better at the events than I was.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have beaten him on log regardless, because his log's just fucking ridiculous.
He does practice that a lot though.
Yeah. But well, yeah, exactly. So I think obviously it's in the past and it's happened now. But if I were to change anything, obviously leading into the next competition, it'll be to practice my events more. I'm not a big believer in doing events year round unless it's like a staple, for example, like log or potentially yoke or stones. But even then, if I'm going to be having a long off season, I don't really see the point, to be honest. Because it just changes too much, and the risk of injury is higher. So that's just my own training philosophy and belief system. So yeah.
But I think you have to go with that, because the idea that if everybody trains the same, you get the same results is bollocks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's certain things that I can do all day long, and other things, no. If I so much as sniff at it, it's going to be, well, there's an injury coming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and there's always been things like that. It's just like, you know, like going through the years, I've always been pretty good with, you know, weights without, you know, I've never competed or anything, but I can pretty much do weights all day. My body just loves it. I start doing cardio, 2 minutes into a cardio session, my body's screaming at me. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, and it doesn't matter how fit, no matter how fit I've ever got, my body just doesn't like doing cardio. You know, I don't always get injured from it, but I find it harder than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a degree of, I mean, this is just my own hypothesis or theory based on what you're saying. Potentially, that could be a result of your childhood. You said you're a pretty good runner when you were younger.
Yeah, I was a good sprinter.
So, yeah, so you've developed that ability to push yourself to, or expect to push yourself to that level. And if you're not at that same capacity, then you're going to have a hard time doing that. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you're not doing it as consistently as, say, weight training. But that's just a guess, to be honest.
Yeah, I just, you know, when it came to like things like middle distance, long distance events, you know, even when I tried to do them, and even now, you know, because I used to do a lot of boxing training and stuff like that. And, you know what I mean? And it's just press ups, sit ups, burpees, press ups, sit ups. I'd be hanging. I'd be absolutely hanging. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, put me on a weight session, I can recover a minute in, recover a minute in. Do you know what I mean? I'm fine. Yeah. But my body just doesn't
I think
like.
I'd be able to put you through paces.
Oh yeah. No, you'd screw me up. You do you know what I mean? Everybody would wreck me. But cardio.
I don't mean in terms of weight. I mean in terms.
No. I mean, like, you know, like proper developed training. Yeah. No doubt. You know, you would really push me to my limits. Do you know what I mean? At weights appropriate for who I am and where I am in my life. But it's just physically and mentally, cardio's the one that I'm like, Jesus. You know?
Yeah, it's draining, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fucks you up.
And even when I've done, like, you know, an hour on a row machine, an hour on a bike, it is arduous, you know. And it, whereas you're just like, right, you know, we're going to do weights. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's probably just a mentality more than anything, because I just love one and not the other.
Something that I'd recommend off the back of that, because despite what you might believe, I fucking hate cardio. I realise it's essential, but I don't like it. Never have liked it. Is who the fuck decides they're going to go on a run?
Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
But in my head, essentially what I do for cardio is, as you've probably seen on my Instagram, I do plenty of walking. Basically, whenever I get a spare minute, I'm walking. And in my training sessions, I like sort of, to go alongside my training philosophy of keeping the compound lift, so squat, bench, deadlift, or less bench, more overhead press. But effectively what I do is I do very, very low rest time. So anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds for the majority of my off season. And I'll be doing shit tons of volume with very, very submaximal weights. So anywhere from 45 to 65% of my 1 rep max, just for reps and sets. And I don't care what anyone says. If you do 7x7 pause deadlifts at 55% of your 1 rep max with 45 seconds rest, you will be absolutely fucked at the end of it. I don't care what anyone says. I could get anyone. I could get a 350 kilo lifter blowing off lifting 100 kilo in terms of deadlifting. It's just a matter of how you're training and what you're doing in your training sessions. And I think that's the way forward, to be honest, in terms of programming, just because the risk of injury is so low and your cardio is getting better, and everyone fucking hates doing cardio. So why not kill two birds with one stone?
Cool, because you are now training, aren't you? You are training other people. Yeah. So since we last spoke, you are. So how does that work now then?
So in terms of obviously my own programming, I hire that out to Joris Scribbins or Atrophy Coach on Instagram, and then with all my clients, I follow my own plan in terms of my own training philosophy, but I get a lot of inspiration, I suppose you could say, from how Joris coaches, but also people like Shane German, so MST Systems on Instagram, and just a few other people that I take inspiration from that I like their training methodology and all of that type of stuff. That's all implemented into my own coaching. But on top of that, so I don't just do programming because I realize that that's a very, very small part of the whole progression and process itself. The majority of progress that you'll make is outside of the gym in terms of your routine and your habits and your nutrition and like hydration, sleep, recovery, stress management, all of that stuff. If you can cover all of that, and your training program could be pretty shit, to be honest. If you're nailing all of that, you'll progress.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're slacking on all of that and your training program is the best it could possibly be, you're probably going to get injured. Your progression's going to be pretty shit, and you'll feel shit, and you'll have no energy. And there's just so in my head, when me and Max, or before me and Max started coaching together, I was a very big believer in having all bases covered, because then you just get to see the maximum amount of progression that you can. That's sort of optimal performance, if you will. And then obviously now Max has come on board. He's more centered around hypertrophy and muscle growth and all that type of stuff. So essentially, we've just brought two powers together, and now we cover everything. Me for performance and strength, and him for muscle building and bodybuilding in particular. So, and to be honest with you, they do like transfer across to each other. As much as I say not to try and go for both strength and hypertrophy, there are bits and pieces that are like sort of interchangeable, if you will. So, for example, unilateral work or balance work is a big thing in strength, just because it improves your coordination, as we spoke about earlier, coordination and proprioception. And you don't have to necessarily include that in bodybuilding. However, it's just, why wouldn't you? You're leaving gains on the table. But not a lot of bodybuilding coaches do that. So, yeah.
And also, it protects your overall fitness. And
yeah,
if
exactly.
if you don't get injured, you can keep training.
Exactly. That's another sort of training ideology that we hold. Rather you go at 90% and not get injured, rather than 100% and then get injured every 4 to 6 months. Because if you get injured, you're out for 3 months.
Well, because you think about the history of top bodybuilders, top strongmen, how many of them have said they ruined their careers by training with an injury?
Yeah, exactly. All of them, or pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
In fact, the ones that are the best are the people that haven't.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Thor, for example, when did you ever see him get injured? And when he did get injured, how long was he injured for?
Yeah.
I actually couldn't tell you when he got injured because I can't remember.
No, but that's it, isn't it? The ones that have the longest careers and ultimately do the best are the ones that don't train with injuries. And if they're not training with injuries, that's because they have training programs that don't allow them to get injured.
Yeah. Obviously, there's like more that goes into it. You can't just not get injured because you're holding yourself back in training programs. You've got to essentially bulletproof what you're doing, because if you're not, so one example would be, if you get strong too quickly, then as everyone knows, your muscles get stronger than your tendons, particularly if you're an assisted lifter. That leaves you very open to getting injured. And if we want to get really specific, if you take in harder compounds such as tren and all that type of shit,
yeah,
which I wouldn't recommend, by the way, then you're asking to get injured essentially. So you want to sort of program and periodize so that you're backing off when you're at the highest risk of injury. So what I will be doing is I'll build up to a peak, or what I do for all my athletes as well is build up to a peak, and then rather than trying to maintain that peak for however long unnecessarily, just get in, get done, and get out, and then have a sort of not rehab phase, but just a bullet. I call it a bulletproofing phase, where you get everything back to baseline, or a little bit more than was the original baseline, and then you build from there and just repeat. So yeah, that's how I go about it anyway.
Because there are, like you were saying, with you and Max, you being strongman, Max being bodybuilding. I mean, percentage wise, when you look at things like, although they're different, but in terms of attitude towards them, diet, the attitude towards the diet is the same. Attitude towards rest is the same. Attitude towards the basic foundations to give you a good platform to go and train is the same. The attitude towards sleep and recovery is the same. It must only be sort of actually, but again, still the same attitude towards the training. So it can only really be differences in the actual exercises and the rep ranges.
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest difference, and whether you can call it a difference or not, is in season and off season. So obviously, with me and Max were speaking about this yesterday, we effectively do the same thing year round, which is why it works so well. Obviously, us living together. My in season is when I'm bulking and getting big, but conversely, his off season is also when he's getting big and bulky, and they just sort of tie in nicely. So we never have any sort of issues in terms of when he's prepping, and I'm bulking, because it's the other way around. And that's probably the biggest difference that we have in terms of bodybuilding and performance. I suppose another one potentially could be your nutrition. So there's certain boxes that I need to tick that Max doesn't necessarily need to. However, that being said, I believe there is a lot of merit to ticking those boxes regardless, just because what I'm referring to is micronutrients in particular. It makes you feel better. You've got more energy, that you can exert yourself more in training sessions, and you perform better. So therefore, more damage, more recovery, more growth. And something I'm not entirely sure about, however, I'm pretty sure it's got scientific backing in me saying this, but ticking those boxes in terms of health and getting your fruit and veg down and staying hydrated, it makes you look more aesthetic. Your skin looks nicer, and it just, why wouldn't you do that if the goal, regardless of whether your goal is for performance or bodybuilding, you do them anyway, because it's just, why wouldn't you? In my head anyway.
Yeah, I think the science is there, because I mean I can't quote the study, so to speak, but if you look at every top athlete, there is a blueprint that's easily followed.
I've lost you again, mate.
I said, I think, although I can't quote the study, if you look at every top athlete, there's a blueprint that can be studied, and it's always to do around nutrition: fruits, vegetables, proteins, fats, carbs, amino acids, and all of that stuff. And you start going down a very dark rabbit hole.
Yes, you do.
But because I'd imagine, like, in terms of like exercise programs, though, because are you more compound lifting as opposed to Max? I'm assuming is more isolation movements.
Yes. So, right. Okay. So, how do I best explain this? For bodybuilding, what you're trying to do is trying to elicit the best hypertrophic response possible. So in layman's terms, you want to try and reduce the amount of, God, that's not in layman's terms. You want to try and get rid of the amount of fatigue that you're creating, and make it all about the damage that you can accrue on the muscle, or inflict on the muscle, however you want to word it. So muscle damage is the priority. Fatigue isn't the priority. And you do that by isolating your movements, reducing momentum or removing momentum completely, and getting good movement patterns. So to explain what I mean by that is, if you take a lat pull down, for example, at the very top, your strength is very different to your when you get to the bottom. So and also the angle in which you're pulling from, it's not just a straight up and down type of motion. It's in front of you. You can see the lat goes round your rib cage.
Yeah.
So it should be a sort of pull and then back and round. And you want to, that's why there's so much emphasis when we do programming, there's so much emphasis on what you're doing with your actual body, because you're not aimlessly pulling. You're trying to contract and keep as much tension there in the target muscle group as possible, whilst also protract and elevating your scapula to increase the range of motion. And then again, pulling down nice, slow control, and then retract and depress your scapula at the bottom. So simple things like that. That's more centered around bodybuilding. Whereas simply for strength in general, strength and performance, the idea is to be as efficient as possible. So getting the weight to move from A to B as easily as possible, for the most part anyway. Obviously, when I say it's interchangeable, there are bits of bodybuilding style training that you can, or that you will inevitably put in performance. And so, yeah, it all works together, really.
No, but it's a good foundation though, isn't it? Because you've got the best of both worlds, and you can both see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
And how many are you guys picking up clients still?
Yeah, so what we normally do is we'll normally jump on a client call completely free, obviously. Just normally takes about 15 to 30 minutes. Talk through what people's goals are, see whether they're right for us and we're right for them, and then get everything set up a plan. And you can normally start either at the beginning of the next month, or in some certain cases, depending on what week it is, you'll be able to start the following Monday. But we're trying to get it set up in a way that we can start everyone either in the middle of the month or at the beginning of the next month, just because it makes it a little bit more seamless in terms of the transition.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got a few coaching spots available. Myself, I've only got 2, just because I don't really want an overload of clients. I can't give them the same level of service and attention that I feel they require to get the best progression. I'm not entirely sure how many Max has got available, but I do know he's got spaces available. So yeah, if you want to get in contact, drop us a message on Instagram, Harvey.Gombos for myself, which is in terms of performance and strength, and for Max it'd be MIRIN.Max. It's short for, well, it's meant to be pronounced Myrin Max, but not a lot of people get the reference. So yeah, just drop us a message and we'll get you sorted out.
So what is the reference? Because I don't get it
either. Do you know who Z's is?
Is this that DFX thing you posted this morning? No, is it DFX?
Yeah.
What was the?
You're on about Dragon Ball Z, aren't you?
Yeah.
DBZ. No, it's not that.
Okay. Because when you're if you don't know what this is, we can't be friends. Like, I've never seen any of that before.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. It's all good.
Yeah, I get excused for being older. It's just like, yeah, it's a generational thing. It's fine, you know.
Yeah, you get the generation pass. It's all right.
That's it. Yeah, I get grandfather rights. So good.
Yeah, no. So essentially, he was like the aesthetics founder, shall we say?
Okay. Yeah.
He was just a public figure that used to do bodybuilding, but also advocated the party lifestyle as well, and was just that sort of cool guy that people looked up to, and was one of the reasons why Max got into training. Essentially, he was a role model.
Yeah.
So yeah, essentially that's pretty much all it is.
That's pretty cool, then. You know, it's a good reason as any, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And I like the fact that he references somebody that actually he looked up to.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the main reasons why he's not changed it, just because it's sort of paying homage to your roots type of thing.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. So do you guys have a website yet?
We don't. We're in the proceeds of setting one up. We were supposed to have one up and running a couple of weeks ago, but something came up and we've had to delay it a little bit. But I'm hoping within a month or so, like, this should be all sorted and done. So yeah, I'll keep you up to speed with regard to the website.
Yeah, no, definitely. And who's sponsoring you now? Because the list is getting a little bit bigger.
Yeah, so
have you got a t-shirt on?
Yeah, Lift the Bar Apparel. Really, really good company. I'm not one for just taking on sponsors willy-nilly. There's got to be some sort of like some ethos, I suppose, surrounding the company or the brand that I like. And obviously Lift the Bar is about depression, anxiety, mental health and mental health awareness. So yeah, really support the brand. And just off the back of that, some of the proceeds of what the t-shirt costs goes towards mental health charities. So obviously it's going to a good cause as well. And then still sponsored by Meat and Co. I've also picked up a sponsor from Frank Dack, Physio, or I think it's on Instagram, Oakwood Physiotherapy. So I think it's that. It changes quite frequently, so I might not be accurate there. Shit, am I missing? Raw Iron as well. Raw Iron apparel or clothing. I think it's clothing, not apparel. They're covering. So obviously I wear the Lift the Bar t-shirts, and they've also got hoodies, but I'll wear Raw Iron joggers and the occasional hoodie as well. So yeah, the team's growing.
It's impressive, mate. You're doing well. You are doing well.
Appreciate it.
Oh no, look, it's like I said, it's good to see because, like, I bounce off what you do as well. Do you know what I mean? And for people who don't know, occasionally Harvey and I get into chats in thing, and that's one of the things I want to cover, because on our last chat, and you said to me, oh, if you got 2 minutes, could you what do you like to see from a coach? And I went into this big long rant and wrote about 5 essays. When I was doing it, I was just like, is this too much? I was like, no, Harvey will understand.
Absolutely. To be honest with you, mate, if I wanted that sort of depth in response, but it's a bit either I ask for a little summary of what you want from a coach, or and get the majority of people to respond, or I ask for an essay, and 99% of people don't respond. So
because when I started, I was just like, he'll be fine with this. He'll be fine with this. He'll get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you did, in fairness, because one of the things I said was, one of the things that you and I got into a conversation about is from the perspective of a coach. Now, I don't do personal training, although I often post the fact that I've just worked out, but I don't do personal training. I have no qualifications in personal training. I do have a long list of injuries that I can talk to anybody about. And as I work in head injury rehabilitation for a full-time job, I've got a lot of knowledge in rehabilitation and cognitive rehabilitation, which is how I got into coaching, because I've spent the last 16 years doing rehab with people with head injuries. So, and one of the things that you and I got into, and this is for people who are thinking of looking for a personal trainer or coach and everything, don't turn up and don't ask questions if you're not going to put the fucking effort in. Okay.
Absolutely. I can't, something that is a bit of a pet peeve of mine. I can't stand when people ask a question and then you sort of give them time and energy to give them a well put together response, and then you see them just completely disregard all of the information you've given them and do what they were doing anyway. It's like, why the fuck did you even ask me?
I kid you not, right? This has happened to me in the past, and I still stick by this, right? I've had paying clients, I'm coaching them, you know, and there's no easy way to put this other than I know what I'm fucking talking about. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? I do this.
You've got
yeah,
to.
I do this for a living,
coach.
right? Like you, I've written my programs, I've done my coaching, I have online training programs and all of that, right? And I've actually done this in the past, and I stick to it religiously now. If you're not going to follow the advice, and you're not going to actually make I don't give a shit how much you're paying me. I'll just refund you your money. You can sod off. Because I
absolutely,
for my own mental health, it's too demoralizing, and I have
exactly. That's something. Go on.
No, well, I have to cut it out like a cancer.
Absolutely, something that I noticed very, very early on, because it was prompted from my own coach, is as soon as you get one of those stragglers, and the ones that I'm on about, it makes every single one of your clients a chore, because like for me, I'll talk to my clients throughout the week, majority of days of the week, but towards the end of the week, when I do all my check-ins and stuff, I've got to go through everyone. But because there's that one straggler that I'll also have to do alongside everyone else, it sort of makes me not want to do the whole process.
Yeah.
And I'm like, either I can keep them on for a fraction of what I'm getting paid from everyone else, or I can bin them off and be happy with coaching everyone and give everyone all my attention without feeling like, I just don't.
Yeah.
You irritate me a little bit. What I've started doing is I'll give them a warning, and then I'll just nip it in the bud, because it's better for me and it's better for them. I'm not going to give them as good a quality service because they're not giving me their time and effort. So it's like, stop wasting your money, go elsewhere.
Yeah. Yes, I'm the same. It's like, because when I have clients that they there's always a transition period where they've got to make the adjustments, and they've got to put some effort in, and there's some, like, some of the conversations I have with people are pretty raw, and they're in comfortable positions because they've often, like, especially if they've come out of a very toxic relationship, that they're in a mentally really rough place, right? So them trying
You're effectively doing counselling. You're effectively counselling them.
I am actually a qualified counsellor. I just
there we go then.
Yeah, but I didn't do my hours. I didn't do my counselling hours, because after I'd done the training and the exam, my issue back then with counselling, and I'm not into counselling now, so I don't do it, is it was always just reflecting on the past. And as much as everybody needs an opportunity to offload that, understand that, look at the history of how it happened, you've then got to put something in place to move forward. Because it's not until you move forward and you start hitting those same obstacles again that you can actually break down what happened to you. So you can reflect massively on the history of your past, and you do need to offload the emotion and talk about how that emotion made you feel, right? But it's until you then start walking forward and trying to expand and move out of your comfort zone, because that's when you start seeing the obstacles again that are trying to trip you up. And it's at that point you can make real progress, that you bulletproof yourself against it. And that's why I shifted. That's why I never got into counselling, because at the time that I was doing it, it didn't have that in place. And you're going back to like 2003, 2004. So I never kept up with it. It's like, that's not what I'm about. I have to move forward, and it has to be proactive. So when I've got clients like that, I love it. I'll have very in-depth, very difficult conversations with them, where you have to be really honest, and you have to appreciate how much pain they're in. And when they get through that and they lift themselves up, and you then see them starting to fly and thrive, and they're just doing amazing, it's the best buzz in the world. It's so phenomenal.
So it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So when you turn up and you can't do what I've seen someone else do, because you just not, oh, this, yeah, but you don't. No, go and find someone else. Just go and find someone else. I can't do it. And this is what you and I were talking about when I was just like, you've got to have somebody that turns up and wants to train hard and really put the effort in.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a degree of help and knowledge and information that we provide people to help them integrate the habits and routines to make it easier to sustain those certain beneficial routines and habits. But without you, essentially, I can't help you maintain a routine if you don't do it yourself. That old adage, I can't remember what it is specifically, but you can lead a horse.
You can't take a horse to water and make it drink. Yeah,
that's the one. And it's as simple as that. I can make the road to that water so easy to go down, but if you won't drink it, then we're just wasting the time.
It is, and it's like you said, it's demoralizing. But when you see somebody, and okay, they might not be looking physically their best, they might not be the strongest, but when you just see somebody putting in the effort, right, you're just like, yeah, fucking fair respect. I don't care where you get to. I don't care what level you reach. The fact that I can see you're trying to make yourself better is just
All I need. I mean, to be honest with you, you tend to find the ones that are keen and inquisitive and not necessarily conscientious, but along that sort of lines. Like, they're the ones that progress the fastest because they actually want to progress.
Yeah.
But some people just want to fucking complain. I don't care how much you're paying me. I don't want your money if it's just for you to complain at me that things ain't going the way that you want them to because you're not putting in the work. Just, you know what I mean? I can't be dealing with that.
No, it's like we said at the beginning, that it's that victim mindset. It's just like, exactly. I will help you through every single struggle when you're taking steps forward. But when you want to go and dig a hole of self-pity and sit in it and turn up the temperature, and put in your self-pity bubble bath, I'm not fucking interested.
No, exactly.
And that's
fully on that wavelength.
Yeah, and that's probably a good place to stop with a bollocking and a warning to everybody.
Absolutely.
And we'll end it there. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, mate.
And there it is, another David Watson podcast. I'll make sure I put all the links in the description. So if there's anything of interest, please check it out. If there was anything I don't cover, please get in touch and I'll do my best to let you know how to find that. And as always, I do appreciate you listening. If you're able to like, subscribe, share or comment, again, always appreciated. Very much so. And if you have any ideas for guests and can do the introductions, get in touch. I'm always open to guests. Thank you.